Welcome to TLC Live. I'm Andrea Gomez.
And I'm Orlando Sanchez.
How's everything with you, Orlando?
Everything is peachy.
Everything is peachy. What did that mean?
That means it's great. It's fuzzy on the outside, sweet on the inside. It means
like a peach, like the
like
fruit
a peach. Yeah.
So it's peachy.
Yeah, it's peachy.
Okay, that's the first time I heard that.
It's an American term.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's a United States.
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the other day...
Estados Unidos.
Estados Unidos de América, término. Ok, muy bien. Sí, porque nosotros no decimos...
¿Cómo se dice peach en español?
Durazno.
Un durazno.
Pero nosotros no decimos, es un día muy durazno.
Claro. Ok. Un programa muy interesante.
Es un programa muy durazno hoy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a peachy.
It's going to be a peachy show.
It's a peachy show?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Actually, we should make it an apple because we're going to start off, in the old days, I don't know if you tried to bribe your teacher by bringing the teacher an apple.
I remember those days,
shiny red
yeah.
apple, and the symbol for education always was a pencil and an apple.
Yeah.
I think we've moved away from that now. There's probably other symbols for education,
now
none of which would be acceptable to most families that, are older generation, but we are going to talk about education, so it's going to be an apple of a day.
The only apple that we have these days is the iPhone Apple.
That's right. That's right.
We don't bring any more apples to the teachers.
No.
That's sad. Those traditions are like, we're losing a lot of traditions.
Yeah.
And we're losing a lot of things in education, and that's
Well,
why...
we're losing education because it's becoming indoctrination.
Correct. That's what is... we're seeing what is going on now that is really... uncertain.
Estamos perdiendo la educación y introduciendo ¿cómo se dice? Indoctrination. Come on. Indoctrination.
Ay, me encanta. I love it when he stumbled with the
¿Cómo se
Spanish.
dice en español?
Ya ni me acuerdo.
Ay, man.
Ya ni me acuerdo la
Okay,
palabra.
let's go back to English.
Okay, let's go back to English. The topic today is education. And why is education? Because we've been hearing a lot of problems for a lot of years in HIZ.
Since we started the problem. 2018.
2018. That was at the end of 2018, right when you were leaving the Harris County treasure. El único tesoro que existía en el condado Harris, que ya no existe.
Ya no existe.
So, I remember that press conference, December 28, 2018. Something that it was supposed to be half an hour ended up in a 5 hours chaos. But it was a really, sometimes bad things ended up or bring good things. And I think whatever happened and whatever people that were trying to stop what you were trying to do, it runs in your favor.
Yeah. No, and just to bring everybody up to speed, back in 2018, I did strictly for the benefit of our children, called on the governor in a public press conference in front of the Hattie Mae Administration Building, which is the Houston Independent School District Administration Building. I held a press conference asking the governor once and for all to move on taking over the failed HISD education system, of which, we were not only physically attacked, but 14 Houston police officer cars showed up. What should have been a 20-minute press conference turned into 4 hours, 14 police cars, going live in the media, where I was, verbally and physically attacked by the left that didn't want to change the status quo at the Houston Independent School District. And as Andrea said, what seemed to be a very negative thing may turn out to be a positive thing. And so that's why we have our two guests, a current member of the Board of Trustees of the Houston Independent School District, Bridget Wade, I think from District 7, and Julie Pickren, who represents the State Board of Education. So welcome to both of you ladies. And as I said, we're sort of at the early stages of this process in Houston. The State Board has, the Education Commissioner has taken over several school districts in Texas. Some argue with some success, some argue without success. We want to make sure that the Houston taxpayer ultimately sees a successful outcome, and that's going to be obviously a better education for our children. So thank you for setting this up.
Yeah, so I did it because we have an, this is like a breaking news, new superintendent. I heard really good things about him. So we want to understand what is going on the inside with Bridget and Julie. The new superintendent is Mike Miles. I think he's coming from Dallas. He's replacing Miller House the second. So that was a big announcement this week, and he's already putting a team together. He's already announcing who's gonna be taking over on the new board. So that's why we invite you guys, Bridget and Julie. Thank you so much for your time. So I want to start with Bridget because you are in the position right now, and you are like you were been telling us that we're like in the dark. We don't know what is going on. We're just pretty much you guys are hearing the news like everybody, that everybody's listening from
That's
the
right.
news. So tell us about that.
Well, give you a little history. That you're exactly right, Andrea. It is, I think, both sides, board of managers, from what I've understood, and the board of trustees, are both have felt during the process that we were told we were going to be more involved, engaged, and that was really not the case. So now that the board of managers has been selected and were sworn in for their job to take over, we now can communicate with them, and we're starting those processes of learning from each other where we go from here. So it's a daily thing. We have no idea. We're having there's a board meeting scheduled tomorrow night at 5:30, and the agenda is super short. It only deals with a very few topics, and so I'll be very curious to see how that goes.
Will the board meeting be open to the public as they usually are?
Yes, it's open to the public. It's at 5:30 versus the 5 o'clock standard time, and they are voting on, just a few items, I guess, just to get the ball rolling.
Bridget, let me ask you now in terms of what's happening so the public that's watching understands. HISD has a board of trustees that are elected by districts in the city of Houston, just like the Houston City Council has several districts, A through J. So HISD has districts. You represent District 7, which is a geographic area of Houston. That board of trustees is still an officially elected board. You're still considered a trustee of the Houston Independent School District, albeit now, because of the action by the Education Commissioner, the Board of Trustees has been sort of put on the side, and a new Board of Managers has been selected to undertake the day-to-day operations. I call it a lot like bankruptcy. When you go to bankruptcy, the courts will remove the management and install their own trustee or overseer. So the Board of Managers now is sitting there making the decisions that the Board of Trustees would normally make, but you are still the duly elected trustee until the next general election, correct?
Correct. And I have a 4-year term, and then the other 4 elected board of trustees that were elected 3+ years ago will roll into their elections come the fall. So there will still be school board elections for 4 of the remaining districts that will roll into the fall. So it is very important that we don't forget to vote for those candidates as well.
Okay.
Because
So
when and if the board of managers is dissolved, they will roll in over a 3-year period the elected board as they see fit.
So explain to us how is gonna be the meeting on Wednesday. You guys gonna do it? The ones that is right now, the new one.
No.
How is gonna be a transition? Are you guys gonna have any communications with them, giving them the insight of what is going on so far? What is gonna happen?
Nothing. So we will have no role at all. I'm going to just watch. So we'll be sitting in the audience like everybody else, and they will take over all duties at the dais, and so they will run the meeting, run the votes, listen to the hearing of the community, and likewise, and we will be just go to
Will
listen.
you have an opportunity to sign up to speak if you want to as a trustee?
Absolutely. I can
Okay.
sign up to speak. I don't have anything in particular. I'd like to go to this meeting and just see how it goes before I roll into speaking. I want to see how it goes. I don't want to say anything until I could witness.
Because you're going like blind right now. I mean, like you don't know what is going to happen.
Blind.
Nobody is being communicating with you, asking you, Bridget. I mean, what is going on and so far? Can you give me information? I mean, to proceed, nothing.
Nothing.
So, as you guys and also the community, you think it's also being a miscommunications, like the parents haven't been really educated on what is going on. The parents haven't get any communications, what is going on, explain to them the situation, what is, because I mean, imagine the people. This is like if for you guys is something new and something that you guys don't know what is going on. Imagine for the parents. I just
Well, the one thing I'll give you that's a beauty part of all of this is that it's not going to affect students and parents
okay.
really at the ground level. Their day to day will move forward. Thank goodness it's summer, so they will have some time to get adjusted before the fall, when majority of students come back into the classroom. It's the teachers and the administrators are the ones having to try to figure out how to maneuver the changes that are happening. But as far as the board level, whether it be a board of managers or a board of trustees, our role is to stay above and beyond what the superintendent his job is to do, and his job is to manage everything that involves the district. We stay above that and only have to do with certain things that have to do with policy, but approve a budget that's presented to us. So really, the board of managers will be doing just those duties and leaving the rest to the superintendent to manage.
Okay. So the question then, let's bring in Julie.
Yeah.
So now we know that the Board of Trustees is still in place. We will have normal elections come November for those who are termed out, or their position expires, so to speak. And we know what the Board of Managers. Now, Julie, tell us this. So we're trying to give a picture of the education infrastructure in Texas. Tell us about the State Board of Education, because that's the State Board of Education, again, are elected members from different districts around the state of Texas. And then you have the Education Commissioner, who is appointed by the governor. So tell us the role, if any, that the State Board of Education will play in this process.
Well, first of all, Orlando, thank you so much for having me on your show. Thank you, Andrea, for inviting me. So, HISD, we had a couple of wonderful trustees. We had Bridget, we had Kendall Baker, who just really had a heart for serving the community. But I think it's very important to understand why the state takeover of HISD. HISD has the lowest graduation rate of any school district in Texas, 80%. 20% of the children who start HISD will not graduate. They have an 80% graduation rate, which is really not serving
And may
parents,
I
not
interrupt
serving
for 1
families.
second? I think if you just separate the Hispanic population, it's even a bit higher among Hispanic students.
Absolutely, it sure is. I think we bump up to 83 or 84% when you start talking about Spanish students, Hispanic students. Another thing is just the education that has been being provided kindergarten through 12th grade. We see only 27% of children in math skills, right, can perform at or above grade level. Only God, the numbers are so horrendous. 65% of the children are not proficient in reading at or above grade level. The 80% graduation rate last school year, if you're just talking about it from a taxpayer point of view, because, we're all paying really high property taxes to our local school districts right now. Last school year in their budget, they really had $102 million deficit spending in their budget, but they made up several millions of that using ESSER funds that were designed for, COVID relief and for extra funding for teachers, what have you. They made up about 72 million of that with ESSER funding. So, we've seen a lot of problems for a long time in Houston ISD. That's kind of the foundation for the state takeover, and it's not anything new. This has been going on for several years. It's been through several court cases, injunctions, what have you. This has been a very lengthy process. So, um, it's just necessary. It's necessary for the children. It's necessary for the children in Houston ISD, for the families. I mean,
Now you
children
mentioned
deserve a great education. And
and
then
you
also, it's
mentioned
necessary for the state of Texas.
some of the statistics in terms of not attaining grade level reading and some of the misses, but in particular, you had several schools that had been rated as failing for several years. Among them, one of the most storied schools in Houston, which was historically serving the African American community, Phyllis Wheatley, which I believe several famous Congress people have graduated from. That had been a failing school for some time, had it not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In Wheatley High School. So when you look at a school like Wheatley High School that has, it's varied throughout the years, but has up to an 80% illiteracy rate, that is what we call the school to prison pipeline. When a child graduates high school and they are not functionally literate, there are very few options for them in society to move forward post graduation. And so that is the school to prison pipeline. And so what Superintendent Miles has done, because whenever you get to a failing high school, the problem is not isolated to the high school. The problem is happening in the feeder schools. If you get a child to high school that cannot read at a fifth grade level, that problem did not start at Wheatley. That problem started in elementary and continued through junior high. And there was never a disruptor in that child's life to teach them how to read. And so we look at all of the social issues that Houston ISD has taken on in the last few years, with just a lot of noise outside of education. And unfortunately, inside Houston ISD, those social issues have been prioritized when literacy and reading has not. And so that's just a huge disservice to children. Whenever you have, oh my goodness, so many families have reached out to me. When you have a child who graduates high school and cannot go and successfully fill out a job application for a fast food restaurant, that is a huge problem. Texas now is now the eighth largest economy in the world. And if we're going to maintain that status, we are going to need a highly educated population. And right now, unfortunately, Houston ISD has not been providing that education. And as you know, it's the largest school district in Texas. They're educating, or maybe not educating very
No
well, the
educating.
largest number, right, the largest number of children in Texas.
Well, how far we've fallen, because I remember Phyllis Wheatley probably graduated the most intellectual congresswoman that I've ever seen and served in the U.S. Congress, which was Barbara Jordan from Houston. Just a wonderful representative for her community and just a brilliant, thoughtful mind. She was at such a level of intellectualism that was always amazing. I still go to YouTube and watch some of her speeches and discourses. Just an amazing woman. And to think that we at one point graduated Barbara Jordan from Phyllis Wheatley, and now we've come to this. And so, Bridget, the question is, Julie points out that the problem isn't Phyllis Wheatley, it's the feeder system that's failing these kids early on. Do you agree with that, and did you see that when you were serving on the Board of Trustees?
Absolutely. We know that the feeder pattern. So, what happened, as you know, Orlando, when we've gone to the magnet school movement, which was good, it was supposed to break the lines. during all of those processes that have been school choice originated are wonderful and they're great. But what happens is people leave the areas that the community schools that feed into those larger schools, to Julie's point. And so as the choice was a good thing, it also depleted the strong students that would be moving the canon forward were moving on to different locations. Their families were finding ways to get them out of that system. So over time, the system became degraded, and therefore acceptance of what to pass from elementary on to middle. And as to Julie's point, once you get to high school, you're too late. And so we've been investing all of this in high school, high school, high school, and ignoring the feeder or the lower schools, to the deficit of that high school acceptance and diploma, and graduation rate.
So,
So
so,
agree. I totally agree.
so it begs the question: if the magnet school system drew bright kids, as you said, that would move the canon forward and sort of be an inspiration to their fellow students in the classroom, and sort of depleted the classes, what is this school choice and the voucher system that, or is the savings account? What's that going to do to the public education system, in your opinion?
Oh, I think it's great for education. What's going to happen is, if you understand public education funding, obviously funds go from the state to the district. The district then funds the child. So if it is funding the child the way it should, funds should go directly to the campus based on the children that are actually occupying seats. If that is the case, then, and if, as we know, competition is good. So if people have a choice and can make great opportunities for themselves, they will. We've seen that with the magnet school success. Now, to your point, we need to close schools. We have way too many schools operating as it is. We run 50 more campuses than we did in the 80s when our population was about the same in HISD. We're losing families. Birth rates are going down. So there are numerous things that are happening, but competition is good. And what will happen with the voucher system is, or actually the savings account, will give parents the agency to make good choices for their kids. We just need to make sure that they understand what that potential savings account really means, so that there's a clear communication and understanding about how that will be developed and resourced.
Well, finally, and I'm going to let Andrea jump in here, but this begs another question that I've been asking. As you know, Bridget, I come from an immigrant family. I didn't speak English when I got here. Julie, I'm sharing this with you as well. Um, no one in my family ever went to college. We came from a foreign country where, very, there was the system of education was a little different. So when we come to the States, my parents didn't have sort of the legacy education. In other words, they weren't graduates of the University of Houston, Texas Tech, or University of Texas. My parents had no idea about the SAT. My parents had no ideas on preparing essays for admission. I didn't even know about the admissions process. I didn't know there was FAFSA forms to fill out, and there was that public aid or financial aid available. None of us knew that. I don't know how I made it, but I made it through college. I was the first one in my family to graduate. So here's the question. So the school savings accounts and choices are great for people that are prepared to see their children through. But we have such a large portion of our community that is devoid of not only the bureaucracy of a public education system, but higher education. What do we do with them? I mean, we give them $8,000 and say, "Hey, good luck."
Yeah, so Orlando, I share a similar history with you. I'm second generation American. My father was the first generation in America, and like you, first to graduate college. So I understand what you're saying, but one of the pieces of legislation that I think is very important for people to understand on the education savings account was that the money, if parents did not spend the money, because again, the education savings accounts that were proposed in the regular session, they fund families, they fund parents, they put the parents in the driver's seat of their child's education, which is who should be in the driver's seat of their child's education. And so it does not fund systems, it funds families. And so, one of the beautiful things about one of the pieces of legislation that was filed in the regular session, and if the governor calls a special, I hope it comes back, is that if the family does not spend the entire amount allotted, then those funds they roll up, and then the families can roll those funds up to college, up to the university or college level. So I think that's just a huge benefit for families. I think it's a huge benefit for, like I said, just for the great state of Texas, because we need a very well educated population. But we need this disruptor in education. We're seeing, I think we've talked a lot about Houston ISD today, but we're seeing problems like this around the state of Texas. And my firm belief is that when parents make the decisions for their children, that is when education will just become truly exceptional.
My question for you guys is, I know before the law changed, but before TEA was only capable to take 2 years on the, take over the school district. Now the law changed. So I wanted you guys, both of you, let's start with Julie, explain what is going on now once the TEA take over, how long they can be there, because Bridget just got elected and she has 4 years. So what is going to happen with candidates or now in place board members that is going to be there for 4 years waiting for the TEA? What is going to happen? Give us a perspective. What is the next step?
Great question, Andrea. What does it look like moving forward? Well, we have to look back a little bit before we can look forward. So, I mean, as y'all know, it's been on the news for months now. The FBI investigation into Houston ISD, right? We've had several former board members either under indictment or in plea agreements. So you have to think about this. There's a criminal case that has been happening that is probably still ongoing right now. There's still, investigations happening, and so we have to give the investigators and the criminal side. We have to give them space to complete their investigations for what they're doing. Right? We've seen wire fraud, embezzlement. We've seen a whole host of crimes happening inside of HISD that are now being prosecuted. So we have to give the investigators their time. So we have to be a little bit patient with that piece happening. And then also, this is a huge ship, and I always tell people huge ships don't turn on a dime. And so, there's a lot that needs to be fixed. I mentioned the $102 million budget shortfall last year, and then couple that with the crimes that have been charged and going through. So we need to take a very hard look at the finances of Houston ISD. I think a financial audit is very much in order right now. We need, we're serving taxpayers. Like I said, we're paying a lot of money. Property taxes are, very high, and we're paying a lot of money for education. And we need to make sure the fiduciary responsibility is there on our tax dollars. And then also we need to look at academics. We need to look at what's being taught in the schools. How do you get what is happening that we get to an 80% graduation rate? What is happening that you get to only 65%? I mean, only 35% of children can read at grade level or above. So it's a revamp of everything. We have to look also at HR. One of the first things that Superintendent Miles announced last week was eliminating administrative positions, so it frees up money in the budget to pay teachers. So, that's a huge piece of eliminating about 200 administrative positions so that we can start teachers at $76,000 a year and go up to about $113,000 a year, depending on length of time teaching and experience and what have you. Because education wins on the funding side of it. Education wins when the money is in the classroom. And so I think that's something that HISD needs a lot of improvement on. And that our superintendent Miles took great steps last week to go ahead and start making that happen for this next school year for our great teachers in Houston. And so, it's going to take a while because the state needs to look at Superintendent Miles, the new board of managers. There's just a lot of areas that need considerable amount of
All right.
improvement, from finances
Bridget,
to HR to to curriculum. There's a lot of areas to fix.
Bridget, one of the things that I've always argued for is higher pay for teachers. There's no doubt it's a tough job, and we should honor and treasure our teachers. And I think that I'm delighted to hear that there's a potential to pay teachers six
Yeah.
figures. They deserve it. They go through a lot of education. They assume a lot of college debt. And I think good teachers need to be adequately compensated. In your opinion and what you've seen, will that attract high quality teachers to the school system?
So we elected, or we voted to improve the allotment for teachers on a scale, 11% increase in their salaries. So unfortunately, to Julie's point earlier, the only way we could do that was for competition to get great teachers and to keep great teachers was to increase their pay, which I agree desperately needed to be addressed. Unfortunately, it came out of the COVID ESSER funding budget that we had to do that in order to keep going, which then creates a whole nother cascade of issues. And that is, how are we going to fund it long term? And so this is where the budget deficit was coming up. I mean, we were facing serious budget crisis in the next 2 years. So there were Harvey funds that were being used over time to fill holes, old Harvey funds, and then there were the ESSER funds that were helping to compensate for our undercompensated teaching staff. So we agree with that 100%. I agree with a great teacher in every classroom if possible, but that also means to say that we need to make sure that they are great teachers. And I know that Superintendent Miles is going with a model that compensates well those high-performing teachers. And with that comes the accountability process that a lot of teachers are against. They don't want the
Well,
accountability measures.
Because they have to reapply for everything, no?
well,
They
let me
have
get-
to the whole the process.
Let me just. I think that I think it's the unions that are opposed to it rather than I think the good teachers actually want to be evaluated, in my opinion. Don't you?
I couldn't agree more, because if they are successful, the evaluations will show for themselves.
Correct. Okay.
And so it's
So
but
they will
it's
have to
about-
reapply
Orlando, it's
for
real
everything,
quick.
right?
Well, once they're in,
Only
you're
in
pretty
the
much
29
unless for
schools.
some reason.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Okay. All right, ladies. Look, we could talk all day about these issues, and hopefully you will come back in a few weeks and give us an update about how the transition's going, what happened at the first school board meeting. I'm going to come by tomorrow if I can, Bridget. I'll look for you. But thank you both. Let me just remind the public that while these ladies are elected, these positions are not compensated.
Of course.
They're donating their time.
Yeah.
Because they love the state of Texas, they love their communities, they love the kids, and they're serving, taking time away from their families to serve you, the public, at no pay. And so we cherish you, we appreciate you, and we wish you the very best going forward. Hopefully the the education commissioner will turn over the school district in quick order so that Bridget can jump back in and do her good work. So
Absolutely.
we want to thank you, ladies. We have another guest coming up. We're going to switch over to the runoff elections in Pasadena, but keep us posted. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank
Will
you
do.
for your
Thank you for
time,
having
and
us.
I'll check on you guys in a couple of weeks to bring you back and as Orlando said, for an update.
Great.
Thank you.
God bless.
Bye.
Ciao. Gracias.
Okay, moving over, we have elections. You know, there's always elections.
It's
always
it's
elections.
always elections that I'm start doing the show with you and working more close with you, because before that we were always friends, but we were not working together. I've been learning a lot about that is elections all
the
year.
time.
That's
So,
crazy.
Speaking of that, we want to introduce Ruben Villareal, who is a great leader in our community. I met Ruben years ago. He is an excellent father, first of all, has beautiful, I think, 2 children now, just recently had another baby. He and his wife are pastor. He's a pastor, associate pastor. His father started a church out in Pasadena. I think it's La Iglesia del Pueblo, I think is the name of it. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's also got some broadcast stations where he broadcasts his Christian show. He has been intimately involved in the city of Pasadena, and he actually ran for state representative in his district to be a state rep in Austin. Fell a little short, but, you know, just like a good leader, didn't give up, so he decided to serve his community on the Pasadena City Council, and now he's in a runoff. And so Ruben,
the elections were May 6th.
Yes.
Now he's in the runoff,
correct.
and the runoff elections June 10th.
and I'll say Ruben was the highest vote getter, and I'm sure he's going to win re-election, but we can't take anything for granted, so we wanted to invite Ruben to talk about the issues, what you have planned for the city of Pasadena and your constituents, and welcome to the program, Ruben.
Hello, Orlando. Hello, Andrea. Thank you for having me on. And, you're right. So we have 3 girls: Rebecca Rose, Raquel Rose, and Ruth
3.
Rose.
Well, you got to
And then we
slow
have
down,
one on the
brother.
way.
You got to slow down. Oh, you what? Another one on the way.
One more on the way. Be here in November. So we're praying for that boy.
Wow.
He's rapid fire. I'll tell
I
you that.
know. Well,
there we go.
that's why the Latino community is growing so much, because because of Ruben.
Yes.
Ruben, you're contributing.
I'm doing my part.
He's fighting voters everywhere.
He's contributing to the.
Hey,
to
as
the
long
growth.
as long as they grow up to be conservative voters, keep on having those babies.
Hey, we have to start young. And
Yeah.
start instilling those values in them.
All right, Ruben, tell us about the runoff. When is it? When does early voting start? And what are your plans for the city of Pasadena?
Okay, so the way I got involved in all of this, first of all, was that my city councilman had moved and ended up running in a different district, which he's actually in a runoff in the district that he's in as well. And so that left my seat vacant. So back in February, I guess the city didn't know he had moved. I don't really know all the details, but you have to live 12 months in a district in order to run. So whenever he filed to run in another district, they're like, wait a minute, that means that you don't live in District A, which is where I live, which is predominantly the north side of Pasadena. So the Mayor Jeff Wagner, called me and asked if I would be interested in taking the seat. And so like a good husband, I said, I need to talk to my wife first, right? And I spoke to my wife, we prayed. I spoke to, some mentors, and I said yes. But then he said, well, you're also going to need to get into the race because we are in election season. And as Orlando mentioned, I ran for state rep a couple of years ago. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to do a race, especially with 3 little ones at home. But I was like, well, okay, let's do it. And basically, at the end of the day, my mentality is, as a pastor, I serve the community. As a pastor, I serve my family. I serve our congregation. We serve the community. We're a church that does a lot of community outreach. We just did we just participated in doing a women's health fair for Dia de la Mujer here at our church, where I think over 400 women came to receive different health services. And we did it in partnership with the county and in different health services. So that's already my mentality. And when this opportunity came up to be a part of city council, I was like, well, I just see it as another way to serve my community and to actually be more boots on the ground. You're out there knocking on doors. You get to see what are the true needs in my neighborhood. The neighborhood I grew up in, I've never moved out. I've lived here since the 3rd grade. I went to elementary, middle school, high school here. Our church is near my district. And so I'm very connected to this district. And then I'm obviously raising my family here in the district. And so I come in with the attitude of working with the mayor. We have a strong mayor form of government here in Pasadena. And if you don't work with him, you're not going to get much done in your district. And so that's my mentality. I don't care if I don't care who it is. That's my mentality. I'm going to come in to work with them, not butt heads, not just say no because it's someone else's idea. I'm coming in to work so that we can get things done in our community.
Well, Ruben, I know Mayor Jeff Wagner very close because I not only did all his 2020 census campaign in Spanish back in 2020,
Yes.
and also I helped him with all the informative videos in Spanish during COVID-19. And also after in 2021, I helped him with his re-election campaign in Spanish. So I'm very happy that Mayor Wagner called you and to bring you in to represent the community, not only to represent the Pasadena community, but to represent also the Hispanic community in Pasadena, which is is the largest community in Pasadena. So I wanted you to talk
Yes.
about that.
Yeah, so first of all, I was super honored because life comes full circle, and I don't remember. I was trying to look it up. I don't remember. It was like 13 years ago, maybe it was like 15 years ago. I actually ran. John Manlove was the mayor. Orlando knows him. I ran for mayor. I ran for city council because John needed an ally in our district, and it was a very close and contentious race. I ended up losing to the incumbent, and then and so after me, the former city councilman who's Hispano ran, and he ended up winning and then held the seat for about 13 years or what have you. There was a stint where he left and then came back. But that relationship with John connected me to Orlando and to others, and that's how I ended up running for state rep. And then I think that's what sort of put me on the radar for Mayor Wagner, and that he already knew me. We have a very good relationship. We had a very good relationship even before all of this, but I think it just put me on the radar in the sense that he figured like, hey, you know what, Ruben has a little bit of interest in serving in government, and so. To me, I was just honored. At the end of the day, I was honored to be in the seat that I ran for so many years ago, lost, and then now I'm appointed. And we do need conservative Hispanic voices, and so I was just very honored and blessed to have been appointed. And then obviously City Council also had to affirm me, and they did.
Well, we're extremely proud of you. TLC's been watching you for quite some time, and to the extent our endorsement helps you, obviously, you have our endorsement. Certainly,
Thank you.
we'll make through our political action committee, we'll make a donation to your campaign to make sure, because as you all know, these campaigns cost these candidates money, and so I'm
Yes.
assuming that you're looking for contributions. So TLC not only will endorse you in the runoff, but will also send you some funds. Additionally, if people watching, you don't have to live in Pasadena. If you like a good conservative Latino, Hispanic, who has served for many years in his community in the state of Texas, help him out. Go to his website and make a contribution. You can contribute $5, you can contribute 10, 15, 20, whatever amount helps him. So, Ruben, if somebody wants to help you in your campaign in the next couple of days, where do they go?
I am an easy person to find because I'm always around here. I'm either at the church, I'm in City Hall, or I'm working here in the area. I'll give out my number. They can call me at 713-516-0521. Again, that's 713-516-0521. I'm all over social media. So I'm an easy person to find for anyone that wants to talk, and especially anyone that would like to contribute to the campaign.
Do you have a campaign website?
We don't have the campaign we did not set up a campaign website because we were just very targeted on the audience that we were going after for these votes. As you know, Orlando, this is one of the downfalls, is that there's 18,000 people who live in my district. 300 people go out and vote.
I know,
And
I
so
saw
we
that.
were just we were very concentrated on a list of about 400 people that to
Well,
get them
yeah,
out to go vote.
but it reminds me of, and I'm not I'm not a pastor, so I'm not trying to steal your thunder. But
No,
don't we Christians talk about good things come from a mustard seed? You're like the mustard
yes,
seed in the
yes,
community, and you know great
yes.
things will come out of Pasadena, and that's why we need you reelected.
I believe it, and we really need to step it up. I'm not even talking about myself. I'm just saying we really need to start. Pasadena is a great ground where we can start building our farm team. When it comes to Latino conservatives, we need more Latino conservatives running here in Pasadena, from school district to city council, maybe even for mayor. And so this is a great ground. This is a battleground. And I will tell you that the other side has already started the battle. And so we really need to step it up and start getting our players in place.
Excellent. Well, Ruben, let's say something in Spanish para la comunidad en español de Pasadena. Invitémoslos a este junio 10 a las elecciones de segunda vuelta.
Así es, este 10 de junio, de 7 de la mañana a 7 de la tarde, van a poder votar en el Phelps Courthouse, que es en el 225 y Ritchie. Phelps Courthouse por el 225 y Ritchie, de 7 de la mañana a 7 de la tarde. Yo personalmente voy a estar allí de 10 de la mañana a las 2. Pasen, voy a tener nieve, nos comemos un helado o algo, pero de 10 de la mañana a 2 voy a estar allí personalmente. Y pues sobre todo necesitamos que el pueblo salga a votar, y ese es el punto de todo esto.
Y fíjate que dice helado y no raspas.
Y no raspas. Sí, bueno, es diferente.
No, no
Nieve.
van a ser raspas.
No van a ser raspas.
Es
Es
raspas
diferente al
no
helado.
cold.
¿Sabías?
Sí,
Right.
lo sé.
Ah, ok.
Yeah,
Igual que el
no,
taco,
van a have ice
el taco.
cream.
El taco es
Ok,
diferente.
entonces, Ruben, otra vez quiero que repitas en español. Yo soy Ruben Villareal. ¿Para qué posición te estás lanzando? ¿Cuándo son las
All right.
elecciones? Y que salgan a votar. Porque lo que quiero después de este programa, para cortar un clip pequeño de esta intervención en vivo que tienes, para que la puedas usar luego en tus redes sociales y nosotros también distribuirla.
Muchas gracias. Hola, yo soy Ruben Villareal, concejal de la ciudad de Pasadena en el distrito A. Este junio, 10 de junio, de 7 de la mañana a 7 de la tarde, tenemos una elección de segunda vuelta, y pues esperamos que puedan salir y votar por su servidor. He estado aquí en la comunidad sirviendo por muchos años, y me gustaría seguir sirviéndoles y especialmente continuar como su concejal de la ciudad. Que Dios me los bendiga, y muchas gracias una vez más. Ruben Villareal. Y este sábado, 10 de junio, de 7 de la mañana a 7 de la tarde, pueden venir y votar en el Phelps Courthouse, que está en el 225 y Ritchie.
Fíjate que los
Perfecto.
pastores son mejores que los políticos.
Absolutamente.
Hablan mejor.
Absolutamente. Rubén, yo no vivo en Pasadena, no puedo votar por ti, pero seguro voy por la nieve.
Pasen, voy a estar allí, y vengan a saludarme. Come by, say hi, vengan a saludarme, y me encantaría a saludarlos en persona.
Ruben,
Maybe we
I
can
wanna-
get Orlando out here.
Yeah, I'd love to.
In the heat.
Yeah, right. I want to get a little personal. First of all, how's
Yes.
your father doing? I understand he played a major role in the church and in a lot of what's
Yes.
going on. How is he doing?
So my father, I tell my wife that we are very blessed. Both of my parents, my father and my mother, are doing very well. They're in good health. My in-laws are doing very well. They're also both in very good health. And so we've been very blessed. My father's turning 80 this year in September. But he's a strong 80. And he was the founding pastor of the church that I currently pastor at, La Iglesia del Pueblo. He founded it, him and my mother, in 1981, January 1981. And about 4.5 years ago, he decided to retire. He always said that he wanted to. He didn't want to be one of those horses that had to be put away to pasture. That he wanted to retire on his own, and so he decided to retire. And I stepped in as senior pastor, and so the church is called La Iglesia del Pueblo on 1600 Pasadena Boulevard, and then we have an English service Sundays at 12 p.m. called Pueblo's Church, and so I keep it all connected to our roots.
And speaking of horses, I see the saddle behind you. So I see
Right here.
Yeah, I know that a couple years ago you got bucked off, right? You had an accident. You had your foot, or your leg in a cast.
It was.
But I'm glad to see.
Yes.
I'm glad to see you got back on for another 8-second ride.
I sure did. It was 4 months right before my wedding.
Right. All right.
Oh,
I
qué
think we
bueno.
lost him, but hey, he was riding horses, and I love rodeos. So I go see Ruben one day. He's in a cast. I said, "What happened?" He says, "I got bucked
Oh
off."
my God. Oh
So,
my
Yeah,
God.
sorry about that.
Okay, he's
oh,
back.
there he is. He's
Yes,
back.
yes, there you go. Yeah, so 4 months before our wedding, I fell off a horse, broke. I literally snapped my ankle where my foot was hanging next
Wait,
to my
wait,
leg. It was
It
a
Ruben,
was
horrible
not a
thing.
Ruben,
cold
wait,
feet.
wait,
It
Ruben,
wasn't a cold feet. It
wait.
was.
You first of all, you didn't fall off, and it wasn't a
I got
horse.
bucked up.
You got bucked off a bucking horse.
Yes, 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 yes. I
You
got
got to
bucked
make the
off. Thank
story
you,
a good
thank
one.
you. Thank you, thank you. Yes, I got bucked off, and my wife had told me about a few weeks before. She was like, "Vale más que no te lastimes antes de la boda. You better not get hurt before the wedding." And when I got hurt, I had my cell phone. She's the first person I called, and I say, "Babe," and she says, "What?" And I'm like, "Me caí de un caballo, and I think I broke my leg." And she's
Te
like,
lo
"Shut up."
dije.
She thought I was
Te lo
pranking her.
dije.
Yeah,
Love it. She thought I was pranking her. So she's like,
just like
"Shut
a
up." And then my bone shifted, and I go, "I gotta let you go," and I hung up, and so that's when she knew it was serious business.
Oh my God. Well, pero te casaste. Eso es lo importante.
no,
No,
Yo
me
me
ella se
casé.
casó
casé.
con él.
Ella se
Ella se
casó.
casó con él.
Thank you, Orlando. Orlando always has my
Pesado.
back.
Always, Ruben. But anyway, I like a good man who gets bucked off
Yeah.
and gets back on for another 8-second
I,
ride.
I got back on. I got back
All
on,
right,
and I'll tell
all
you
right,
what.
buddy.
A day before the wedding, the doctor said I could wear my boots for the wedding. So there
Awesome.
we go.
Wow, that's awesome.
So there you go. Here he is, another great Tejano, Mexican descent, loves, everything Texas, horses and ranches,
Yes.
and serves his community. He's a great family man, a good conservative Latino, and this is what the state of Texas needs. And I've always said, the state of Texas will continue to be, as Julie mentioned in the earlier segment, we're the eighth largest economy in the
Yep,
world.
in the world.
In the world. And part of that is the engine that drives this economy. We've got to recognize is a good portion of it is all Texans, but a good portion of those Texans are of Hispanic descent. We are here to work.
Yes.
We're here to make a contribution.
Yep.
We love our community. We love our state. And we just want to see more conservative leaders like Ruben in office. So we urge you to get a hold of Ruben, make a small donation or a large donation to his reelection effort, because we need him not only in the city of Pasadena, but in the state of Texas. This is a future leader of the state of Texas. He has 4 children that I know he's going to raise up to be conservative voters. And we want to wish you the very best, Ruben. We'll get back to you after the election to find out. And again, Texas Latino Conservatives Political Action Committee is happy to endorse you. And today we'll send you a little check in the mail.
Thank you. Andrea, Orlando, I really appreciate you guys having me on the show. God bless you. God continue giving you guys grace and favor in everything that you do, and keep fighting the good fight.
Thank
Claro
you,
que
buddy.
sí, Rubén.
Good to see
Mucha
you.
suerte y salúdame mucho al Mayor Jeff Wagner.
A Jeff. ¿Cómo no? Muchas gracias. Bendiciones.
Hasta luego.
Ciao, ciao. Well, it was a great show.
Again, thanks to our lovely producer who works diligently all week to put this show together.
Thank you so
At
much.
first, I had to do it, but as
Oh,
she
gosh.
just admitted,
Oh, gosh.
she's learned so much
I learned. Oh my God.
from me that now she just she follows the news, she knows the issues, she knows the right candidates and guests to bring in, and she
Okay.
does this to inform every one of you.
I'm just
every
gonna
week.
accept the compliments without complaining about your comments. But okay, I've got
Wait,
to.
why would you complain? I just gave you
You're
a compliment.
giving compliments, but you have to compliment yourself first. I don't understand those compliments.
Well, no, you're the one that says that I'm a good teacher.
In English,
Oh, and all the politics you've learned on
in
your
politics too, but not putting the show together. I am with the news and TV background,
own. Okay.
but you're good too. Let's
Okay.
say we are a good team.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you so much for tuning with us. I'll see you guys next Wednesday. But before that, if you like this show, please like the video, share the video. Also, visit us in TexasLatinoConservatives.com, TexasLatinoConservatives.com. Become a member. Also, make
a
your
donation.
contribution. Stay tuned with our calendar because we're gonna have in August Leadership Latino. So always stay tuned with us if you want to run for office and if you want to understand how politics works, how to do from A to Z, how to become a candidate from the moment that you're signed for the position till media training and compliance and ethics and all of those things that involve running for office. So Leadership Latino is your program. So go to our website, TexasLatinoConservatives.com, and you're going to have all the information that is going to be our next session is going to be in August.
Let us prepare you to be the next elected official from your county. And she said from A to C, but it is actually from A to Z.
Okay, well, that's what I mean.
A to Z.
That's what I mean.
We're not going
A
to
to Z.
shortchange you in our program.
That's what I mean, A to Z. I
Yeah.
think our viewers already understand me more than you.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. And as Andrea said, like us on Facebook. We'll see you next week.
Nos vemos el próximo miércoles. Chao, chao.